Jim, do you hear me?
Hello?
Hello. Good to hear you, Jim.
I can't hear you for some reason. It's a good start.
You can't hear me? Okay.
Oh, hang on. Hello?
Hello.
I had my audio on Oculus for some reason. Uh, hearing things. Same Mignus.
I'll probably hear my keyboard.
That's fine. Can Jim say meow so we know it's not AI generated?
Yes,
Meow.
please.
I
Meow.
mean, AI is getting so good that it could still be AI, to be honest.
All right. Should we start? Or
I guess
wait
so.
for some more people? Let me check.
Let me check what the viewers are like.
Who's in?
283. Yeah, so we can go.
Oh, sorry.
Hopefully, we get more comments this week. I felt like I was talking to myself last week.
Yeah, I will look in the comments on Twitter.
Right. Where should we start? Bitcoin, I guess.
Yep, sounds about right.
It's going to be another. It's going to be a stream of me saying don't do anything again. To be honest, we had a bounce over the weekend. I mean, we'll talk about Twitter sentiment first. We had a bounce over the weekend into resistance. Twitter said bottoms in, everything's great, and now we're already struggling. It's the same level as last week. We're basically finding resistance at this monthly open. Until it gets over there, looks bearish to me still. Not done anything to break trend. I kind of think equities potentially struggling at this level as well. Like we said last week, basically, we just have to look at equities and be equities traders for now, because until equities looks like it's bottomed, crypto is not going to bottom. And equities has had a nice correction. One thing to pay mind to is generally whenever equities is in a trend, the Friday is often counter trend because people are covering positions for the weekend. So we had a nice rally into Friday close, and that happened the week before as well. Here, 7th, big rally, and then rally into close. There's a good chance this is already finished its bounce, and it's at, like, I think I mentioned this level last week, like potentially it wicks this, and then find some support and bounces. It bounced, but then it broke directly through, so now it's basically trading at resistance, and the next significant level is 18,004 in my opinion, and there's nothing here to sort of make me think the bottom's in just yet, even though we'd all like it to be. We've got to be objective. Same with the ES. I had these two levels marked because they kind of got a lot of liquidity and kind of poor lows. It wicked it, bounced, and then failed, and now it's trading below. And it kind of, everything kind of lines up the same as far as where are we right and where are we wrong. If the ES reclaims this level that's been support, then we can get a bigger bounce into this 5,800 level, I think. And it's no different to Bitcoin. If it reclaims this 84.3 level monthly open, then it's got a bigger bounce, maybe into 80, 89, 90K, I would say. Because it could bounce there and still maintain this downtrend. So right now, it could go up, but it's a bad trade to take it right at resistance when we're in a confirmed downtrend. Longing resistance in a downtrend is like shorting support in an uptrend. So, whilst it's under here, I think having no trade is the best trade, because whilst it's under here, and I also sort of consider the fact that this is Monday. We've not put in a low of the week yet, so my guess is we trade lower. Whether we find support at this sort of 80k level again, it remains to be seen. But I don't know. I kind of feel as though we're going to get another move down, to be honest. It's worth noting that a lot of the sort of volume that came in for on the long side, like it's quite common in downtrends that the first bounce is short covering and then the second bounce is longs entering. And we're kind of seen a similar story here. The bounce is very much sort of short covering, and then the secondary bounce is longs entering. It's not really giving a perfect view on here. It's better on exo charts, but you can take my word for it that the open interest increased into the highs, which is generally longs buying resistance, which isn't what you want to see in a downtrend. So until it does something constructive, I think we have to sit on our hands and wait for lower prices. So that's Bitcoin done. What's next?
Ethereum or Solana?
Which one? Ethereum?
Yeah, no, I'm joking. We can start with Solana. There's way more.
I mean, we can do Ethereum because it looks fucked. At the end of the day, Ethereum is trading below its like really high time frame trend line, and it's consolidating below, and it's failing to get back above 1960, 1970. So looks like fucking poo, to be fair. And it's probably, if we maintain this structure, next level that it's going to probably sweep and get some reaction is 1500, which is a nice round number as well, which is always funny added confluence. And again, if we do get some sort of structural break on the ES and stuff, where we reclaim some levels, then potentially Ethereum can reclaim this big trend line and have a bounce, I'd say, up into here. And it's just hilarious that every level I've drawn is a round number. So if it stays here and we maintain this downtrend, it's probably going to react at 1500. If it reclaims the round number of 2000, then it's probably going to go to 2500. So if it reclaims 2000, there's a trade there for a potential long for a bigger bounce. But I wouldn't really participate within this little choppy range because I think it's bad expected value, bad probabilities, bad trade just bad risk management. Is more likely to chop than anything. So, but if we're looking at this from a bull's perspective, like it gets even worse probably, because the amount of bulls, whenever you get this kind of big high time frame trend line break, we all looked for it on altcoins, like big high time frame trend line break. What do we look for? Breakthrough, and it can do this, and then you get the idea. Bulls would have erections right now if this was inversed. So we kind of have to maintain the same mindset, in my opinion, that this is a big trend line break, and the likelihood is it goes much higher, quote unquote. So, what would you think, Michael, if you saw a chart like this and you didn't know it was inversed?
Well, I would say up only after testing the trend line, I guess. Like,
to be honest, I would target here. Like, honestly, if this was some altcoin consolidation,
if you flip it, like literally, this chart looks really good.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I would bet on it. Yeah,
I would
yes.
too. So
Yeah,
I
but
think
it doesn't look any good anymore.
I'm going to draw this level because it sticks out to me. 670. Yeah. Complete the M pattern. Beautiful, glorious. Okay, this is a big question. ETH Sun or Sol Daughter? Sol Daughter, obviously. Honestly. You got to go Sol Daughter. ETH Sun is like dropped out of uni, eats Cheetos.
Why are you describing myself? No, no, like I
Sol,
agree, like, but I think it could be the biggest and the longest M pattern in crypto.
yeah, for sure. But this is a chart that looks dead forever, doesn't it? It's probably going to do this for 10 years, to be honest. That would be fun. Oh god. You know what's scary is obviously Bitcoin's battling this like high time frame trend. If Bitcoin loses the trend convincingly, and this stuff already looks like this, like it's going to be a bloodbath, honestly. It's horrible to even think about. I don't even want to think about it, to be honest. I guess we'll do Solana now. Oof. I mean, it's another brutal one. I drew these two lines last week as sort of reactionary levels. I mean, it looks terrible. It actually looks weaker than most things right now, which is concerning. Yeah. Again, I just don't see any positive. I think this is your level if you want to get bullish. 136. If it reclaims, this looks like a really nice deviation. And to be honest, if it does that, I would these highs at 180 stick out like a sore thumb to me. So if you're looking for a light at the end of the tunnel, if it can do something constructive, maybe we get a flatten out of this EMA and it reclaims 136, then I think there's a really potentially nice trade for a bigger bounce up into this 180. But until it does that, I wouldn't even think about buying because it's still in this downtrend. And if we're longing now, it's basically going off gut and hope and wishful thinking. And you kind of got to go with the trend until it does that. And the trend is saying it's probably going to come into this consolidation here, I would think, which is, the big level, 100, takes out the stops from here and, back here. Can imagine there'd be a very strong reaction off 100. Right now, not really seeing it off this 120 level, 115 level. So yeah, that would be the plan, I think. I'd rather not participate in this zone because it's kind of not much value in it. The real value is this 95 to 100 level or above here. Right. What's next? Are we going to find anything positive today? Is the question.
I'm not sure. Seems like it's gonna be a depression session with a few awful jokes from me. Uh, I was thinking maybe let's check Nasdaq because we overall haven't checked the index yet carefully.
Yeah. Well, again, it's like I said, really. It's at that point. It's at the point now where it's either completed its bounce or it's going to do a bigger bounce. Taking the long here in anticipation for the bigger bounce, I think is kind of high risk. So we need to see something more constructive. It's kind of trying. It's definitely trying. But again, I think it's very clear that if it reclaims 19.9, this consolidation here, then I think you could target up into here. Might be a good logical bet. If it does that, if it does reclaim that, then I feel quite good at potentially taking a long on most stuff, to be honest. There's quite a few nice targets for upside if the market has bottomed here, but it's just too soon to say, really, until it's still rejecting off the trend. So I think whilst it's under this level, it's like every other market. It's kind of one of these. It's another great stream where I say it's 50-50 really, but it kind of is. I think ES as well is similar, very similar.
So overall, you're bearish.
I mean, I'm not bearish. I'm just looking for good expected value, you know. I
I'm
think,
not. Don't get me wrong. Like I completely agree with you, but the chart says the truth. Like for now, it doesn't look good,
yeah,
does
for
it?
now, like it's bad expected value to be long looking for upside after it's already had quite a decent correction. I think we've got another tumultuous week. I mean, the market's just tumultuous at the minute anyway, and it's like, do you really want to be betting on upside at the top of a bout, like after something's green already? You know, I think you want to be reducing your time exposure currently because it's more likely to be chopped to downside than it is to be trending upwards until we see, you know, a shift. So if you can capture the, you know, the kind of bounces where you're getting a decent price, I think having the discipline to close and take your profit and look for the next trade is going to fare you better. I think it's a trader's market than a holder's market for sure. So BMT, what is that? Sounds like a sandwich. Is it a coin? Any idea?
I think he meant DMT. There was such a token.
Isn't BMT a subway, Philly? I'd
But
long a BMT right now.
I have no idea what it means.
Oh god. Why is there always some dodgy newish token that like rips? I honestly, I don't know what to say about this one really. On the 15-minute, I'd long it. On the 1 hour, I wouldn't long it, you know? So if you want to be a scalper, you've got your clear, you've basically got your invalidation on the low of this 15-minute. And I'd stick to the 15-minute and I'd be looking for this kind of trade, honestly, these kind of scalps. But I just, you know, whenever you get up to this kind of time frame, not so sure, to be honest. Don't know what it is. Brand new, looks a bit dodge. Seeing a bunch of accounts going on about core. What is core? Is it on here or is it on deck screener? Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Just gets worse, doesn't it?
I'm very curious what was the last pump like. What was the news?
I don't know. Probably that it's been shorted to shit. Probably. Let's check. Let's check. See if it's a scammy. Because a lot of like that last coin we just looked at, BMT, looks like a short squeezy type thing. It's probably, you know, cool. Oh god, which one is it? Core Dow or Corium? Who knows? Bunch of accounts is always like when the chart looks like this, a bunch of accounts must be like 4 people. I mean, there's just nothing to go on this one, to be honest. Probably been shorted since here. Let's get rid of this. Just about as there's literally nothing actionable here. Yeah, no idea. Probably spent too long even looking at it, to be honest. What else?
Maybe we could check red, the
Oh
token I've
God.
been longing. Yeah, it's a funny one.
I don't know what I don't know. You were right. I told you to close right before it popped, I think.
Yeah, but I was longing it's like 50 cents, so I did some profit anyway, and I still had like my spot, my spot back, and I still have that. And I didn't close like all the longs because I reopened them quite quickly. But still, it seems like for me, a similar playbook is maybe in the play because it's once again the funding rate is negative 0.17%, and I don't know, like for me it's clearly that someone is trying to really short it.
Well, I don't know if people are trying to short it. I mean, let's look. There's definitely something going on, but I don't think it's as simple as the fun. Like people think heavily shorted coins, like the reason, like it's not only because of short interest that short interest isn't what dictates funding. It's disparity between spot and derivatives. So if there's a big gap between spot and derivatives, the funding is implemented in order to reduce that gap back to sort of neutrality. So that can be done either through spot flows or through derivatives flows. It doesn't always whenever people say negative funding squeeze the shorts, it could be a different it could be a different reason for that. It's not always just as simple as it's heavily shorted. Mm-mm-mm. See, this is this is quite interesting in the sense of like when you messaged me and we spoke about it, there's significant long interest. Yeah, so everyone's jumping on this because of the funding. So they think, oh, this is going to squeeze. I'm going to long because the funding is going to pay me to be long, like significantly. So you had the opposite happen. It wasn't shorts; it was people longing. So this actually went up on people buying. And then it popped. This is one pop. This is probably shorts that entered at some point in this, and then it went sideways. And now, so this is clearly just by how the candlesticks are forming, and the open interest is going down. Whoever helped lift this on like rising open interest is basically TWAPing out of that long position. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes. Yeah, I was looking at the small, very like systematic drawdown, and I was like, okay, someone is closing longs. And the ultimate squeeze was the 91 cents. Like literally, it popped and immediately dropped.
Yeah.
But what I don't understand from this trade, if everyone was longing, how the funding rate is negative?
Again, it's because it's something to do. It's because if we go on Red USDT, how can we look at it? It's to do with the. See, it's not even too much different now. It's to do with the spot price. So it's something to do with spot. Okay. I don't know how this stuff's calculated exactly. But it looks more as though like what is this coin for a start? Because then we can sort of look into potential game theory of it. If this is something that like VCs have got stake in that they're able to sell initially or whatever, then
Well,
it looks as though they've taken advantage of some sort of situation where they've sold the spot and taken the position back on leverage at a tenth of the price, kind of thing. You know.
it's an oracle like Chainlink,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, they have VCs, but 1 year cliff, 3 years vesting, as
Mm-hmm.
far as I know. And for me, it seems like there is not many tokens in circulating supply, because yes, there are unlocked tokens, but they haven't spent them, they haven't distributed them yet to protocols. That's my, like, that's how I see it. I don't have any
Mm-hmm.
data, but from my point of view, most of the tokens were airdrop and one
Ah,
Binance, and everything else there is no tokens yet.
yeah. So this is airdrop selling. I don't know the reason for why the funding went so high, because it's. I don't think it's readily available information. You kind of have to make some sort of guess. But this move is clearly people taking advantage of that for whatever reason it happened. It wasn't because it was shorted. There's clearly some issue where the spot selling is created this negative funding relative to derivatives. And then as soon as that's happened, the price has gone up as people basically try and extract that funding, if that makes sense.
Can it be a reason like that market maker isn't doing pr- his job right, or it's completely not that direction?
It's so gameable that we could make a number of theories.
Uh,
It's too hard. Like all we can do is is look at the data that we have presented, and the data is this got the whoever got this airdropped sold initially. It created some interesting funding situation which people cottoned onto and then decided to long it in order to capture the upside and the funding clawback. But it looks as though that has been extracted now. Whoever, I'd imagine this is a single entrant that caused a lot of this open interest, and it looks like they've almost fully TWAPed out of that position now. So this is probably, that's probably it, like a done trade on this token now, I would say.
yeah, for sure it's done for now. I'm just thinking it might repeat. The history might repeat in some way, because
Potentially.
what I see now, that the funding rate is raising. I'm not taking the trade now, but I will definitely, like, keep it on my watch list.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And look for the open interest. Like you can use open interest as like in a similar way to price action sometimes. Look for this guy to finish basically this drawdown, and then it should flatten out. And if you start to see an increase in the open interest again, then that might be a trigger to get in. Because like here, for example, you had quite a nice opportunity to get in early on this initial increase. It popped up, consolidated, and then starts climbing. So kind of look for this kind of
yeah,
signal
I was
again.
holding a chunk on spot anyway, so my initial thought was like, okay, I'm going to sell the spot and buy on leverage and just farm funding rent. And I was doing that for like 2 days, every 4 hours getting from 0.2 up to 0.7%. And then I was like, okay, like, let's long it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, and that was it. Like, very, like, left curve trade, but it worked.
Mm-hmm. Right. What else? Popcat.
Popcat. Oh.
Oof. It's one I've tried to long a few times in the last few weeks because I did think it had some sort of diverging structure. It's kind of here. it was starting to look like it had potentially bottomed out, and also Bitcoin was going down quite aggressively, whilst this was like, it was kind of holding, which gave me an indication that sellers had run out of tokens. I believe that this kind of diverging structure is invalidated now, and it's still maintaining this downtrend. So honestly, I think it's probably worth just not doing anything with this coin. The fact that it's trended down for so long, it gives me more of a kind of a sideways structure potentially. I think the idea of a bigger squeeze is invalidated for now. I'm trying to think, how would I trade it if I guess 25 cents is quite a good number. Honestly, maybe 30. It's a better level. I think avoid the chop on this one. Maybe it goes sideways. It could be a while, to be honest. But if it gets back above 30, then it's a much, like if we zoom out, kind of looks nice. This is the kind of bottoming structure you like to see on altcoins. It's just a case of like, how long is this consolidation period going to take before it does this? Because the chances are that this will probably do this at some point, but trying to predict when that is pointless, and you just kind of go wait for it to happen, and then it's a good opportunity, I think, for like 50 cent, and then who knows, like higher targets. But right now, I don't think it looks particularly good anymore, sadly. I think a lot of these had the opportunity to potentially have some divergences play out, like Bonk, for example, but they've kind of been invalidated, and I just think it looks like this downtrend's going to sustain itself, unfortunately. So yeah.
What about Fartcoin? I know you are very interested in this coin.
Well, to be honest, it's another one similar to what we just looked at with PopCat and stuff. Like, it keeps going down, but it's doing it without very much like strength and momentum from sellers. So this is one that is interesting. It's doing this. I think CBS posted about this as well, doing this, but currently it's still unable to break trend. I think I mentioned it in the Telegram yesterday, not to chase the pump, and that it needs to get over 36 cents, I think, to confirm the potential for this divergence playing out. So it's much like PopCat. I think it's one of those like more likely to go down to sideways whilst it's under this trend line, under this horizontal. So I would kind of chill for now. Might be worth buying like 20 cent retests or sweeps if you want to hold Fartcoin for the longer term. It's one I like because it's maintained its mind share and its meme quality, even though it's down, whatever it's down, 85, 90%. But if you want to be a bit more, confirmation bias, then I think if it gets above this, 36 cents, then I could see it. I could see it doubling on a bounce, honestly, like 68, 70. So yeah, again, it's one of those. Don't chase it. Wait for it to do something a bit better. Like with 2 trading like a low cap shit coin on 15. Yeah, exactly. I think it's one of those situations where you can kind of see it if you zoom out, that we're at that point now where I think the downtrend's finished. Like, this hasn't got much, like, as far as like volatile dumps, I don't think this has a volatile dump left in it. But what you can see from this chart is the fact that the volatility is decreasing, which is generally what you'll see at the end of a big trend. So again, I think this is one of those situations where it's more likely to do this than it is to do this. Well, if it does that, then it's basically zero. So,
Basic,
if you believe in these memes for long term, Popcat, Fartcoin, Whiff, um, you may have a few weeks to like consider buying some at cheap prices, Yeah.
so basically, Wave looks like Ethereum in 2 years at this point.
Basically, yeah. Good God. It's hard not to be bearish right now, sadly. It looks pretty bleak.
I mean, I love Ethereum, but and my exposure on NFTs suffers from the ETH price. But as a trader, I agree, it does not look good, and I would not be a buyer here.
The main concern always is like, it's fine, we can wait for this downtrend to end. The big question mark always is like, how long are we going to be down and like in that low volatility period? Because to be honest, this like low volatility period we had wasn't that long relative. Like I remember this one, it was just fucking torture. Whereas and again, like if we look at ETH, like if we look at it objectively, it had just over a year of sideways chop before going up again. And Ethereum on 450 days of chop, it's failed to even reach its previous all-time high. So like if we have to, we kind of have to question like wherever this bottoms out, does it need longer to accumulate in order to actually break that high, or is it going to do it like if we're kind of considering that question, if it consolidates for less time than this, does it have a higher or lower probability of actually finally breaking out? I don't know. So the concern for me is like the volatility right now is good because we can trade it. The real concern is there will be a period where there's no volatility. And it's like, how long is that going to last for? That's the biggest concern. But, if we start hamster racing again and stuff, then we'll all be okay. Wasn't Michael bullish ETH and Fartcoin last week? Oof, he's getting called out by the boss.
Well, I am bullish Fartcoin, and well, I'm kind of bullish if, but from the points not chart wise, more like let's say sentiment. I really would like to see all the people who shit on if getting squeezed and hammered. Like it's similar playbook with hype. Everyone was hype community was super toxic when it was above like let's say $24, but now when it dropped, like suddenly they're quiet, and I would love
Yeah.
to see with Ethereum haters now, but yeah, I'm not going long here. And a week ago, it wasn't looking that bad because there was a chance it's going to get back above the trend line, and I really don't like the consolidation under it.
Well, we've actually got a nice example because, like, 2 streams ago, Michael, when we were on together again in the private one, you were you asked about hype, and
Yes.
Ethereum's kind of in a similar situation now. It was in this consolidation, remember? We basically determined like it's broken this trend line, it's broken down, and it's not really a constructive consolidation that looks as though there's high enough demand to regain this trend. And the likelihood and probability was that this consolidation ends to the downside and not to the upside. And for that reason, like when you think about trends and stuff, like if this is establishing a downtrend, then it kind of skews that 50-50 to a 70-30 of likelihood of which way it's going to go down. And Ethereum is kind of doing a similar structure now, where I'm not saying short. I don't want to be shorting here personally, but based on the previous price action and consolidations, and it's quite simple really. If it does something to break this trend of consolidating and breaking down, then that's a signal to potentially take long. So yeah, needs to do more. I'd be quite happy to get long if it does something constructive and breaks this downtrend. because there is some juicy targets above. Like, for example, I really think Bitcoin at least wants to test this, but it's kind of struggling at the moment. This would be the CME gap fill as well, I believe. Not that I hold much sort of belief in those, but still. Let's see what's happening. Any more questions?
I don't see any in the chat right now. Any thoughts on USD Euro? I know I'm not sure if you ever been a forex trader. I'm not trading them there actively, but it's an interesting one for me.
Oh, I'm on crypto, that's one. I mean, I can only look at it from a technical standpoint because I have no idea. I mean, it looks bad. It looks bad. But I'm a noob. You're gonna have to. If we're on USD Euro, if it's going down, does that mean which one's losing value to the other? Because I'm a noob. My brain can't function.
USD is losing value
To the euro.
To euro.
Interesting.
Yeah. Wait a second.
Well, at the end of the day, it looks awful, but it's also, I think you can just draw this trend line. It's crazy that trend lines work on global currencies, right? Like, what the yeah, I have no, I don't look at these markets enough to.
Yeah, I got you. Just an interesting one. I don't have an exposure on euro, and I don't like it as a currency, but it shows me that maybe investors aren't that bullish on Trump anymore.
Exactly. I think that's the thing to consider I think the scary thing to consider is the possibility that the US dollar loses value and also their stock market loses value at the same time. Because that's a very negative outlook for America.
Yeah, in the other hand, when USD is cheap, like in theory, you can buy stocks cheaper as a person who doesn't earn in USD. So let's suppose I live in Poland and I got my salary in Polish zloty and I want to invest in S&P 500, then it's cheaper for me. And also goods that are exported out of US are cheaper for other nations. But it would make sense if the overall DXY was dropping, which is, but the USD euro or euro dumping on euro USD rising. It's a very weird one for me because like everyone is so bearish on Europe, including myself, but something is wrong. That's my faults.
Well, I think the concern is that people are more bearish on America. And I can't look at this chart and not be pessimistic, really. Like the last time, we kind of had this divergent structure on this entire rally up here. It lost the 50 and it lost the EMA. Obviously, it chopped around for a few weeks, but continued the downside. As far as I'm concerned, these divs are confirmed now. We've broke through the 50. We broke through the trend. It needs to do a lot here to reverse the potential for more downside to me. I don't think it looks good. The same with NASDAQ. So, and we're in a downtrend now, and then we have the seasonality kicking in of it's not a meme really, but sell in May, and walk away. You know, these people, the people that do volume on these big markets, take the summers off. So we don't really have much of a window for good volatility and upside, really, I don't think, at the minute, until something drastically changes. So,
Well, for me, it's quite funny because I feel like all of the tourists that came and they believe in the cycle theory and they are counting weeks after the oh my god, how was it called? After halving, and think we can see
yeah.
like all the upside is, you know, in the future, like we are just before them. Like I wish they were right, but every indicator, like everything shows me like it's going to be, or it already is, a bear market. And I don't mean like bear market that we drop like 60 or 70 or 90%. Many tokens already did that. It's more like will be the long accumulation phase or slow bleeding. That's my
Hmm.
bias. More like the other scenario, because like I really like when we pump, but vibes are better in bear market though.
Yeah. Ziggy asking about gold and silver. I don't know how you can have a price target for gold. It's, you know, it's at the top of its all-time high. Um, looks set to continue going up.
Yeah,
Um,
I have gold chart too, and I really like how it's in the range. Let's say from 2980 to 3000, basically. How it's like it doesn't show weakness
yep,
from my point of view. It's on. I use 15 minutes, so it's like very.
yep. I think it's looks good to me. Yep. You
Although
know,
to tell you something, my Uber driver today told me he might buy some gold.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely worth noting. But there's absolutely no signal to suggest it's the top yet. Again, you're probably gonna get multiple weeks to make some sort of decision to sell. I also think silver's got a long way to go up. Like silver's just getting started with its rally. I think it's right on the precipice of breaking out and retesting this 50 level. Um, like as well, like the RSI hasn't even got to like upwards velocity yet. This is a delightful looking chart. So I think silver looks very good, which I'm very happy about. I'm very happy about it because I told my mum to put in a lot of her savings at 22. So feeling good about that.
I bought my sister for her 18th birthday 1 ounce of gold, and she outperformed most of the market participants. It was 2 years ago. Uh,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
but do you think
All
we
right.
can see a crazy rally, like silver to gold, like the ratio will uprise in price?
As in a catch up, do you mean?
Yeah, like silver goes up against gold.
Possibly, yeah. And it could happen soon, to be honest. Um, yeah, it could. Like one thing with silver is when it really gets moving, it gets moving. So I'm hopeful that it's going to happen soon. But yeah, I mean, look at the gold chart. The gold chart looks so good. Like, why can't crypto look like this?
Yeah. I wish it was Bitcoin.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, Peter is getting his tweets out of the storage for like, oh, you're holding Bitcoin. How many percent down are you now?
Let's hope we're on a bottom. Let's hope we're at a bottom very soon, and it's not as bad as it looks. Honestly, just need to
Yeah,
flip some levels, and then we can start targeting upside. Honestly, like as soon as we flip some of these significant levels and break this downtrend, then I'm going to get short-term bullish, and I'd like if Bitcoin can convincingly reclaim this month open, I think 93, 94K is back on the cards, and I think there's some good upside targets. Quite a lot of inefficient breakdowns that I think are due a retest. So I'm really hoping we can do something constructive, because then the upside targets are much easier to sort of define, I think.
Also, guys, if you would like to, if the market is better and you would like to see Jim and me trading live, or let's say I trade and Jim just pray for it, or anything like stupid content, we can get some girls here to trade also. Let me know. I'm really open to any ideas.
Yeah, that'd be cool. All right.
Yeah, the crazy idea is like get a grandma like 70 years old and teach her trade. That would be sick.
Yeah, or we could get Ben on, actually. We could get Ben on.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. All right. I'd say we call it then. We'll wrap up.
Yeah. It's been almost an hour. Am I right? Yes. So guys, if you want to see more of this content, join us in a week, same time 5 p.m., 10 past 5. And also, if you want to get more market insights, join WooForce. We have a channel with Jim where we discuss trading, and that's where he told us about Fartcoin, that it's time to be sidelined and it's going to look good above 36 cents. That's where I shared my Reds trade initially. So I think it's a good place to be around and trade on WEX so you can do more of this stuff.
Awesome. Cheers for watching, guys. Silico said he is in your mom. What the fuck? All right, cheers. We'll end on that, I guess.
All right.